what the hell are you going to do as a customer? What do you do? Because you have no recourse. Oops. That wasn't the person we wanted to land on. Newegg can keep the fucking money. The title of this video is not hyperbole or clickbait. This is something that we've actually had viewers tell us has happened to them. It's finally happened to us. Comes down to Newegg has, we feel, stolen $500 from my company. So this is an issue where it came down to an RMA dispute, where there was an undamaged product that went back, actually unopened product that we sent back to Newegg. And despite having spent tens of thousands of dollars with Newegg over the last 16 years I've been their customer, they decided to screw me out of $500, and I haven't even gotten the motherboard back that I sent in for return. We're going to talk about this today. Again, this is something we've seen mentioned in forums and in emails over the past several years every now and then, but now we know what it's like, and now we've got the Undercover RMA story for you. This will be fun. Before that, this video is brought to you by Be Quiet and the Silent Base 802 case. The Silent Base 802 got high accolades in our review for its high build quality and its versatility in both silence-focused and airflow-focused builds. The 802 comes with swappable mesh panels or noise-damped panels, so you have options for either approach. The Silent Base 802 case is able to fit larger builds as well without being overbearing, and it stands out for its mechanics quality and assembly quality. Learn more about Be Quiet's new case at the link in the description below. We bought a motherboard. It's about a $500 motherboard, paid a lot for expedited shipping. We do this a lot in the business because we find we need things quickly, try and get them in. So we bought the motherboard, we got it in, and by the time it had arrived, we had already figured out a solution and troubleshot the problem, no longer needed it. This has happened a few times as well, but over the years you kind of eat costs to restock things now and then and pay for the shipping. No big deal because it's all business at the end of the day for us. A little bit different as an end user. You don't want to waste money on shipping like that. But for us, it's part of the cost of doing business. What's not included in the cost of doing business is getting gouged for the entire cost of the product and not even getting to keep the product. So here's what happened. When the motherboard arrived, it's an Intel motherboard. It has an LGA socket. You can see where this is going. And not only I handle the intake for this particular type of product, not only did I not open the UPS or FedEx box that it came in, I obviously did not open the motherboard box, which is inside of the shipping box. None of the boxes were opened. The motherboard never saw the light of in fact, the last light that motherboard saw was at Newegg's warehouse. We opened an RMA, a refund ticket, where it gives you a bunch of drop-down options. I was honest about it. I chose the option that said, item is no longer needed. So that is supported within the usual 30-day return window or whatever it is. Shows no longer needed. It gives you an option to write some comments in a field. I was not trying to get a content piece out of this. I have one now, thank you Newegg, but that wasn't the goal of this. This was just normal sort of shipping and sending stuff back. In the notes box, where it says additional notes for your return, I wrote something along the lines of, we bought this motherboard. By the time it got here, we had resolved the issue and no longer needed the motherboard. I basically said, this is my fault. I bought a thing I no longer need. Sorry. They gave me a label. We shipped it back. And didn't hear about it for a while. And then I got an email from Newegg that we'll put up on the screen that said RMA rejected. And it claimed damage to the product. This is where I immediately remembered at least one email from one of you, if you're still out there, know that we saw your email, where someone said that Newegg had claimed there was a bent pin on a motherboard that was returned, even though that particular viewer who emailed us had never bent a pin or maybe even never used the motherboard. So 100%, I have seen complaints of this before. I didn't have a good way to test it. I mean, what are you going to do? You just keep ordering motherboards, I guess, which is what we did as normal business, and eventually you'll get screwed by Newegg. It seems to be a pretty good hit rate if out of all the times they rolled the dice on a random number generator, they happen to roll a critical failure for this one, get a 1 on their D20, and they land on me. Oops. That wasn't the person we wanted to land on. Someone with a platform who can actually get their money back, whether it's through views or it's through the proper channels. So, I wasn't trying to be vindictive about it, where we approached it as a normal customer. It didn't say, do you know who I am? Anything like that. My email is in there, so they could have looked and figured it out, but unlikely that the support staff even really know much about computers. We're gonna insert just this quick update in here too. So while making this video, we had posted on Twitter to complain about the issue, and Newegg suddenly jumped into action and refunded us and eventually sent the board back, but only after we complained on Twitter, and Newegg saw that we had a high follower count, which makes the complaint a lot scarier than if it's most customers. And obviously, our interest is in doing what's right for most customers. We've always been consumer facing and oriented because that's what I am. That's what I came from as well. And so this, just to us, it looks disingenuous that Newegg suddenly cares now when privately they didn't give a shit about us. But when we complain on Twitter to 100,000+ people, suddenly they care. So it falls flat, and we don't believe it. We don't accept the apology. And so we went through the normal channels. I called Newegg. We'll play maybe a clip of the call at some point.
Thank you for calling Newegg. My name is. How can I assist you today?
Hey, how's it going? I sent in an RMA. I had ordered a motherboard and I ended up not needing it. So it was just, which, you know, that was on me. I just ended up, I thought I would need it, got it here, and it was kind of too late when I got it. So I sent that back, and I just got an email from Newegg about rejecting the RMA, even though I never opened the box. So I was hoping you could help me with that.
Okay, so it says that the motherboard pins were damaged.
Right, yeah, I so not only did I not open the motherboard box, I didn't even open the shipping box. I just put two, pieces of new tape on it on top of the old ones, never opened it. And it was very cordial. I was overly polite. I explained the situation 2 or 3 times. We were acting the good customer here. And normally I am, because it's not the support guy's fault that this happened to me. He doesn't know any of this. He doesn't know what the warehouse people did. He doesn't know if I'm telling the truth. It's not his fault. And he assured me, he wrote everything down. No one ever does this. Said he wrote everything down. Said he was going to get photos from the warehouse to prove that there was damage and that he would call me back.
All right. And once I get that information, I'll reach back out there to you, all right?
Okay. What should I expect for a lead time?
It's hard for me to say because I had to reach out to him via email.
You guess what happened? I never got a call back. So going through this process again on the phone, again, no call back. Eventually we went to the chat support, and here's where I noticed what Newegg is doing wrong. That's exceptionally shady and fucking slimy and just really dirty that they're doing. So the motherboard we ordered, when I went and pulled up the order history, I saw it says, I don't know if it always said this, but it said open box. Open box, if you don't know, is Newegg's way of saying this has been recertified by our team at Newegg. Newegg has recertified this product. It was at one point opened. Perhaps it was used. Maybe it wasn't. But in either case, what Newegg has done is taken it out of the box, tested it to make sure it works, and then put it back in the box to sell it for pretty close to retail, but maybe a slight discount because it's missing a SATA cable or something. That's what open box is. I still would have bought it because I needed the board, or I thought I did at the time I ordered it. But it's open box, so that's the story there. The last time I bought an open box item from Newegg was probably about 2012 or so, and it's a laptop. At the time I bought that, it was because I genuinely, we had no money. The business was not making any money at all. It was only negative, really. And so I had to buy an open box laptop. It was the best I could afford. It made the most sense, so that's what I did. I remember when I got it in, I had to call Newegg support because it was disgusting. This was f***ing filthy. It was really gross. So I called support staff, and at the time I asked for, hey, can I get a different one? Can I trade you? This thing's just really gross. It's not acceptable for sale, even if it's open box. You should have done a better job cleaning this. They didn't help me out until I described it to them. So they were like, well, that's the risk you take with open box. And I said, okay, there's pubic hair sticking out of the chassis where it looks like someone has opened it and reassembled it and clamped a lot of that stuff in there. And there's also crumbs all over the keyboard and in the hinge. Don't know how that happened, but I don't want to touch this because I think I'm going to get a disease. So how about we trade? They traded. That was my last open box experience. This is the next one. Newegg. How does that happen? How do you get 100% failure rate on one customer? Come on. There's obviously something wrong here. So it went from, I'm just a customer, just give me my money back and we'll be done with this. Just agree that obviously your staff took a product that was returned from a customer, your staff opened that product, your staff installed the CPU improperly and bent the pins, and then they put it in the box and they sold me something that was broken. And by the way, just to add a point here, it wouldn't have mattered even if we did verify what was in the box, what was damaged, because Newegg would obviously still just lie and say we damaged it. That's what they did now. They obviously didn't trust us to begin with, and they wouldn't trust us anymore if we claimed we had opened it either. We could have just said that, and the result would have been the same. One more thing too, when complaining about this on Twitter, a couple people thought for some reason it made sense to defend Newegg. We don't know why, but they said that you should always open a box while the postal carrier is there and make sure that the product is undamaged and that it's arrived in one piece. Well, that's cool that your carriers are willing to wait around while you open a box and then open the product box and then inspect the pins on the motherboard, but I actually understand that they have places to go and a lot of packages to deliver in the day. So the way it works, at least in the US, if you're not familiar, is basically the carrier shows up, they put the box on your doorstep, and they leave. It's not like you have a chance to open it in front of them. It's just there. You might not even be home when it arrives. And then again, if you make the very busy delivery person stand there while you open it and inspect 2,000 pins in the socket, you're an asshole. So while it's nice to be sanctimonious about how we should open the box and then open the product box and make sure everything's in good working condition while the postal carrier's there, that's not how reality works. It's left on the doorstep and they run away, which is fine. They're busy. So anyway, that's how this happened. And it went from nice customer, nice Steve, talking to people in a very understanding way, to this is now an undercover warranty series. We've done these videos in the past. I didn't know it would land in my lap like this and be so damn easy. So I went into the support chat as a customer. I didn't wave the "do you know who I am" flag around. We generally don't do that because we want to see the customer experience. And, you know, just to give you perspective, even though I sound amped up here, I'm actually not mad about the money I've lost to Newegg, but I'm pissed that Newegg is doing this to other people, definitely. Because one, you don't just happen to land on someone who's going to turn around and make a video and get a lot of views on it. And I've had the emails in the past from you all where you've said, what do I do about this? I've tried to help when I catch those emails, but there's sort of only so much I could do in those situations. Email Newegg, I don't know anyone there, and try and push them under threat of doing something about it in a video. And this is the answer. I now have something where I can reinforce anyone who's had this problem. I can make this video, and hopefully if it's within the window, I'll give you some advice you can use to try and get your money back from Newegg. And if this hasn't happened to you, or it's been a while, or it's in the far past and it's too late, then at least this will serve as don't buy from Newegg. Especially don't buy a motherboard from Newegg. Because here's the thing, if the response to a return motherboard is the pins are damaged, what the hell are you going to do as a customer? What do you do? Because you have no recourse. You can't prove anything. You could take photos before you send it. Sure, I suppose you could do an unedited video of packing the board undamaged, bringing it to the postal carrier and shipping it. No one's going to watch your 45-minute video proving that you never tampered with the board. What's going to happen is they're going to deny the RMA, and you will either have to start being an asshole, which is not a fun thing to do to support people who are getting paid pennies while Newegg is robbing you for $500. So you're going to have to be an asshole because clearly being nice didn't work for me, and you're going to have to start threatening them. And the threats are obviously going to be, I'm going to issue a chargeback. chargebacks don't always side in your favor as a customer. So your next threat, obviously, do you see how much money I've spent on my account over the years? I'm never going to buy here again. They probably don't care. And your final option is probably small claims. But let's be real here. How many people have time for all that BS? So here's how it went down. When we got into the chat, I started out nice but agitated. This was one part genuine feeling and one part, now let's start testing support and see how they really are in a real scenario. So nice but agitated. It escalated very quickly to furious, which I think is reasonable here. It's a lot of money. And it escalated to furious because the support staff really needs to read the response from the customer and not just jump to a canned response instantly. And if they use a canned response, then obviously there needs to be some courtesy there to respond to specific customer requests. Otherwise, what are you doing? And all of that to say, every time I tried to tell the Newegg staff the issue of, hey, I understand you think the pin is bent and you think that there's damage, I didn't open the product. Like, can you confirm that you understand me? And they just kept spamming the same canned message, which is obviously designed to get me out of the chat as fast as possible. So what they said was, quote, I see this return was rejected due to bent pin damage and send back to you on December 30th. Still haven't gotten it, haven't gotten a notice. I actually asked, I stopped everything. I said, can I have a tracking number? Never got it. Why should I believe that? I sort of pushed. I said, no, you don't understand. You didn't read. It's not possible that I've damaged a pin. It was, however, an open box item. Perhaps your people damaged the pin or the previous customer. Or maybe there's no pin damage and you're full of shit. But anyway, the next thing they said was, after return team checked, this motherboard has thermal paste attached. So, okay. I mean, I don't really know what to say to that. It sounds like the recertification team is incompetent, or the return team is someone is incompetent here, and has clearly made a mistake, and they will not hear you out as a customer. You're just instantly branded a liar. It doesn't matter that you've been their customer for 16 years. It doesn't matter you spent tens of thousands of dollars. That's how they treat you. They said, so I pushed. I said, again, I didn't open it. And they say, yes, but our return team says otherwise after inspection. It was like, okay, now you're calling me a liar. So now we're going from agitated to we're not cool anymore. I thought we were cool. We're not cool now. They said, I'm sorry, we are unable to refund you since we have returned the original motherboard back to you. I got escalated to the supervisor. I said, can you please call me? I would like to resolve this on the phone. It's a lot easier to be calm on the phone than watching their blinking 3 dots appear and disappear for, and this is real, this is a real number, for 6 minutes to answer a yes or no question, which was, are you a supervisor? That took 6 minutes of dots blinking to get an answer. Actually, I didn't even get an answer. They answered a different question now that I think about it. It's even worse. So supervisor refuses to call me and says we're going to stick to chat if I want to talk to this particular person. And they do I totally understood your points and concerns. For any return, our return department will inspect it after we received it. Here's a thermal paste on the item, which means the item was installed. I'm not going to keep saying it to my viewers because you all get it. I know I've repeated this scenario like twice now, and it's because that's what I had to do with Newegg, and they still didn't get it. So here we have a scenario where my only recourse is simple. It's to tell you, if you buy from Newegg, probably stop. If it's your only option, I'm going to be realistic and say, sure, keep buying from Newegg. I'll probably have to buy from them again in the future when I need to review something, and what I will not do is buy from Newegg ever again personally, as not Gamers Nexus, as me, because it's not even a grudge. It's they took $500 from my company, and I'm sure now I'm going to get it back. But is that reasonable? Like you happen to land on someone with a platform, and so I'm not going to go away. Newegg can keep the fucking money. At this point, I got what I wanted, which is to finally have evidence of what viewers have told me of, to protect future viewers from the same problem, to protect future consumers from the same predatory behavior where Newegg is, I don't know, they could be doing this on purpose for all I know. But either way, it's clear there's zero recourse for a customer. If you buy a motherboard, they claim the pins are bent, there's nothing you can do. So to me, that looks like malice. And maybe it's a mistake by accident, but there's no process in place to correct for that mistake and ensure it does not happen again, because this has been happening for years. I hope people learn what it's like to buy a motherboard from Newegg and consider that carefully before doing so. So, it, like I said, turned into an undercover warranty series. Normally we script those pretty heavily. We have a set of tests we run the company through. We did this with NDXC BLD in the past, and it's a lot of fun. But this was just like thrown at us, and Newegg's failed every aspect of it. They failed me as a customer. They failed my test once it became a content piece, which it wasn't supposed to be. Normally I set out with a content idea before it happens. I'm not going to buy from Newegg to the fullest extent. There's a lot of times I would actually buy from Newegg only because I felt like I'd given Amazon enough money lately. We don't have really physical options near us. It's like at least with Amazon I've been screwed like this. So I guess when I've got the option, I'll just go there now. So that's the end of my story. This isn't sort of our standard video. It's almost like a story time thing, but there is a takeaway from it, which is I don't trust Newegg, and I never will trust Newegg at this point unless I see serious reform, and you shouldn't either. That's my opinion about it. I would love to hear from you all if you've been screwed over by Newegg or anyone else in the same way, retailers, especially about bent pins, claimed bent pins on motherboards. Ours was a clear-cut case. I know I didn't bend it. Newegg is evil for many other reasons. We've covered these in the past, but consider too the following. Gigabyte and the power supplies that were exploding was working with Newegg either directly or indirectly as an accidental consequence to dump and purge its exploding power supplies in GPU bundles in a time when people couldn't get GPUs, so they became desperate and they were forced to buy a bundle, which is forcing the customer to clear out unsellable, unsafe, dangerous inventory from a warehouse and take it into their own possession. Newegg, the fact that you haven't been sued over these things is phenomenal to me. It seems like a great class action lawsuit, but maybe there just weren't enough people affected. The step further that Newegg took here that was particularly evil was if you wanted to return the Gigabyte power supply, you had to return all of it. So that GPU you had waited months for and you finally sniped, it's gone if you want your money back for the power supply, either because you didn't want the power supply or because it exploded. There was no send in one and not the other. Newegg eventually, in theory, rectified this and gave that option, but only after we made a massive deal out of it on Twitter and in our videos, then the policy began to change. So here's hoping this policy begins to change too. I don't like doing stuff this way publicly over an issue that I was trying to resolve privately, because it's really not my goal. It's not fun to me to just make a video like this where all I'm doing is going after a company for policy, basically, which is what this is, rather than doing what I like to do, which is testing things. So my goal isn't this. My goal, obviously, was to just return it and get my money back. I thought that was going to be the end of it. I was never even, you wouldn't have even known in the audience I bought this a motherboard. You don't even know what board I bought, because it doesn't matter, because I didn't use it in a video. I thought we would, but, you know, this is the way we have to resolve it, I guess, because I tried to do it as a customer, it didn't work. And like I said, Newegg, keep the money. I'll tell you where you can put the money, and hopefully we've helped some of you if you've had these problems. It's just obscene treatment, insane that they're able to be so callous and so arrogant that even when the customer is being nice and explaining themselves well and has a long and storied history of buying from the company, Newegg is arrogant to the extent that it is doing excellent volume compared to years where it was nearly dead, only because of the shortages in the industry, only because everything sells. And Newegg, that reign's not going to last forever. You do have to at some point offer good service versus your competitors when this all stops. When supply goes back to normal, when people no longer are just buying cards because you happen to have them. So enjoy it while it lasts. That's it for this one. Thank you for watching as always. If you want to support us directly, you can go to store.gamersnexus.net. I'll give you a guarantee right now. Newegg is going to be in the January slot, probably even the first one for Disappointment Build 2022. Thank you for watching. Please let us know in the comments what your experiences have been like, and we'll see you all next time.